Page 217. Let's review Maran so that we'll understand everything we're saying today, and I'll review it quickly. There are two words we need to know here. Tevila. In English we say Tevila because we're using an Ashkenazi Hebrew which doesn't have...
Sorry.
No problem. As long as they're okay on other end. Doesn't have a shva that's pronounced. You have a shva na and a shva nach. You know? Sometimes words can have two dots and you pronounce them, and two dots and you just read them through.
Right.
So Tevila and Chatzitza. Tevila means immersion in a mikveh, and top page 217. I didn't read yet. And Chatzitza means something on your skin that separates the water from touching your body. So when a person goes to the mikveh for Tevila, they have to remove any chatzitzot that are on their body. So the question we have here, Maran is going to address, do we have laws of chatzitza when it comes to washing your hands for bread? I mean, do those rules that apply in the mikveh apply for when you wash your hands for bread? And that's what we're addressing now.
So what number is this?
This is number 161. Page 270.
Does that apply to like rings?
Mm-hmm. Right, so that's what we're going to have to figure out now. Like, what exact... Are there laws of chatzitza at all by washing hands? And if so, are they as strict as the laws that go on to the mikveh? Okay, so I'm reading on page 217, Aleph. Tzarich lihizaher. One must be careful. Michatzitza. From, how is a good word? Do they have a good translation?
It says one must be cautious regarding interpositions.
No, that's not a good word.
What?
Because anything that intervenes for immersion intervenes for washing. That is not an English word. Interpositions. I don't know where they get
What?
that.
It's a math word.
It doesn't sound like it should fit in this context anyways.
No, so
Maybe-
It's just a barrier, like a Band-Aid or something.
Yeah.
Barrier separation is the
Close.
word you most commonly. Something that separates the water in your skin. That it disrupts. It disrupts. I don't know. Chatzitza. Yes. You must be careful from any chatzitza. Shekol davar shechotzetz b'tefila chotzetz b'tila. Because everything which is a chatzitza, or in Hebrew is chotzetz, in tefila, is chotzetz in netila. What is tefila? The
Immersion.
mikveh. And what is netila?
Washing.
Washing for a cup, for bread, let's say. Kigon so'ah shadachat etziporen, like the, what is it used for?
dirt. It says dirt.
Dirt underneath the fingernails.
Yeah.
V'tit hayavan, what is that?
Not on the
Greek
skin.
mud.
It's not on the skin. It says dough under one's fingernail.
Okay, and next.
And then even where it's on the skin, a bandage with ointment, a clay from pits, and clay used by pottery makers.
Correct. Okay. So'ah shadachat etziporen shlo k'neged habasar. וצק שדחת לצבון, dough that's underneath the nails, אפילו כנגד הבשר, ורתיעה של הבשרו, וטיט האיבר, וטיט היוצרים, all kinds of clays and muds, all kinds of things that can get stuck to your hand, yes? אבל במיעוטו, שאין מקפיד, but if it's a minority, it covers a minority of your body, or maybe here, a minority of your hands,
Yeah.
and you don't care, I mean, it doesn't bother you that it's there, and you don't have to worry about it. You're a painter. You don't care that there's paint on your hands. So long as the majority of your hand is not covered in paint, there's just a little bit that's around your fingertips, that's okay. You can wash your hands for bread like that. I mean, it's a chatzitza, but it's a chatzitza to a certain point.
So it's not the amount of dirt there, it's whether it bothers you.
It's both. One is how much does it cover? I mean, if it would cover the majority of your hand, but it doesn't bother you, it will be a problem. And the second is, does it bother you? So even if it's a little bit, but it bothers you,
Bothers you, then you got
that
it.
would be a problem. Very good. Haga, says the Rama, Umishum hachi, because of this, lo nahagu lenaker hatit shetachat hatzipornayim. We don't have a custom to take out the dirt from underneath our fingernails before we wash our hands. That's something that ladies do before they go to the mikveh. Mishum dehavi kimiuto she'en mapid, because that's like a minority that you don't mind. If you're willing to wash your hands and eat your food, there's a little bit of dirt under your fingernails, it's okay. Because we're not particular about this for hand washing. But if he was particular, he would have to clean out underneath his fingernails, and that's the halakha. And then listen to what the Rama says. It's possible that they have a custom to be lenient by chatzitza when it comes to hand washing. Because there is an opinion that holds that there's no such thing as chatzitza when it comes to washing your hands.
Source?
One of the Rishonim, we mentioned it last week. I don't have my Mishnah about it. But the main opinion is like the first opinion. So even though the halakha follows Maran, which says there is such a thing as chatzitza by washing your hands, says the Rama, it's possible that people are lenient in this regard because there is a shita that holds that there is no. Is that the Rama's opinion? No.
No.
That's classically what we would find in the writings of Chachamim. It's called a limud zechut. It's a favorable judgment of what other people are doing. Let's find a source for why it is that people do what they do. Now we mentioned in the bottom of page 217 that we have two different dirashot. What are dirashot? Not speeches. Our Chachamim see a pasuk and they are doresh. What?
Derivation or something.
Yeah. What did the word use?
Teachings.
Okay, it's
Is
the way
that
our
like
Chachamim
drasha?
interpret. Like a midrash, like not a
like
midrash,
drasha.
but a drash. How would they?
It's an
A
expounding.
drasha.
Expound, right? They expound on a verse.
Yeah.
I mean, they learn something from the words. So there were two drashot. One was in the pasuk of Vaikra where it says, "V'chatz b'mayim et kol b'saro." He must wash in the water all of his
All of
flesh. Why all of his flesh? Not just wash his flesh.
It's an immersion that comes from when it's after it's solved, right?
To tell you,
The very nice.
all of your stuff has to be inside of the water. It's talking about a mikveh.
Yeah.
All of it means there can't be any interruptions between your water and the skin, your skin and the water. And how do you know you're going all at once? It says when the sun comes and he becomes pure after he goes to the mikveh, the sun sets. Just like the sun sets and it sets on your whole body at once. So too, when you go to the water, it has to all be at once. Like, you can't go to the mikveh and dip half a pot and then dip the other half of the pot. It has to be entirely at once. The same thing with a person. You can't go in once and do half your body, once another half your body. By the way, this is an important halakha that people must know. We read this earlier, but I don't know how much attention you paid to it. If you look with me on, let me find the right page for you. Wrong section. Okay, if you look on page 86, this halakha here.
But what number is that in terms of the?
It's Shulchan Aruch 158, halakha 13. Over there, Maran says that if you immerse your whole hand inside of a river or whatever, inside of a body of water, a mikveh lizard, you don't have to dry your hands afterwards. And the same is true if you wash your hands with the revit of water in one hand and the water in the other hand. We learn from this halakha
You don't have
that
to wash your hands afterwards or dry
you
it?
dry them.
Really? After washing for bread?
It
If you wash with more than a revit,
One person.
But
Really?
at one point, but many agree with Maran that you always must dry your hands.
I'm not here to say that you shouldn't dry your hands, but that technically, the prohibition of eating bread with wet hands is when there's still tameh water on your hands. But if you wash with more than a revit of water, that tameh water is gone. It's not there anymore. You learn also that you're not able to wash your hands l'shiurim. Any tatadan b'shiur. You can't wash your fingertips and then wash your knuckles and then wash. You have to wash your hand at one
Fractions.
shot. Which is why people who use a washing cup and they're strict. They want to be Kabbalists. They want to do 3 on each hand or 2 on each hand. They don't realize that they're actually losing out.
Because they're going
But
like
it-
cheek. Like
And it's
like
not
that,
enough. Yeah,
like
eventually
two
your whole hand
fingers,
gets
two-
wet, but your whole hand probably wasn't under one continuous flow of water all at the same time at once. And therefore, it would be much better to pour half a cup of water on one hand, half a cup of water on the other hand, and then for sure your hands are so you want to be a Kabbalist, but you can't be a Kabbalist on account of losing out on halakha. That would mean that the blessing that the one makes is in vain. That means that the bread they eat is without washing their hands. And so is it really worth being a Kabbalist in order to...
Is there any basis for picking up a metal cleave cup with a towel?
Obsessive compulsive disorder.
I know.
That's the
but
basic
I've seen
story.
this, yeah, that's
And
like,
people are afraid
Yeah.
that the water left on the handles were from someone else's hand that's going to make their hands impure. Who is washing with less than 3 ounces of water on their hands? That they're leaving behind tameh water. And the yeshiva used to say that's paper towel, and they like grab, like the couple's contaminated or something.
right.
It's a very strange thing. It's a problem. I mean, this kind of halachic obsession leads a person to all kinds of bad places.
Craziness.
It's not a correct way to. From all the chachamim we ever saw washing their hands for bread, the Ashkenazi, Sephardi, did we ever see the poskim? Did we ever see the Avbedin use a paper towel or a towel? What the hell does it come? So all of a sudden, this guy discovered halacha that little people are doing now. Soon it's become a thing. One day,
So that happened near Israel, like have like all the
All the
Rebbeim
time.
don't use it,
They
and
don't
then
use
all
paper
the then
towel.
you got the kids that
Right.
are.
right. Now, listen, it could be now I'm already 2019. Could be there are now rabbis doing it too. But when I was there, I never saw any of the rebbeim holding washing cups with the paper towels. But students, I did see, definitely. I don't know. I'm not sure. Sometimes, parents always jokes that people, they don't care what it says in the Shulchan Aruch, but when you find like a little detail in the notes underneath the Shulchan Aruch, and that becomes a whole new religion for people. Like, oh, I found a stringency no one ever heard about before. That's wrong with it. That's a problem.
Yeah.
So if you use a towel to dry your hands that someone else used before you, would that, could that invalidate?
It's not so sanitary, but no, probably not.
Yeah.
Unless the towel is really wet and smelly and it actually makes your hands dirty, in which case you didn't really accomplish what you wanted to accomplish.
Because in
What?
many cases, when you wash your hands and you're with a large group of people, they
You
don't
pass
have
the
enough
towel.
towels around
Most
to
of the
go
time,
to everybody, and you
I'm
wind
very
up-
lucky that I get to wash my hands first most of the time. But most of the time, when I'm in someone else's house, I'm like number 15 and the same towel, I don't dry my hands.
Oh.
I just sit at the table. By the time they finish and they bring the challah and they do the whole ceremony cutting the challah out, by the time they finish all of that,
Yeah.
my hands are already dry.
So if you brush your hand on your clothes,
Portable Dyson.
Oh, that's
Air
pushing
blade.
me into a corner. Did you intentionally do that?
not purposely.
Okay, there's teachings of the Chachamim which mention all kinds of things that if you do them, you forget what you Torah you studied. That's a question how seriously you have to take these things. One of the things mentioned there is someone who dries their hands and their clothing is considered that it causes one to forget their learning. Now, what this whole teaching means in the first place, I don't know. It's not actually halakha, but it's something to think about. So people refrain from drying their hands and their
Is that like
Really?
eating the ends of the bread?
I don't know where. I don't know that, but it's like they're taking out olives in certain numbers.
Right,
Like, there are a
right.
lot of things
Like,
like
don't eat
this.
the
That
heel?
Chachamim-
Kabbalistically.
that Chachamim told us.
That's the
Oh,
best
take out the
part.
cake.
That's what
Yes.
I think so too.
That's the
What's
best
your
part.
father's name?
My father?
Yeah,
Moshe.
Moshe ben.
Yosef.
Dilui Nishmat Moshe ben Yosef. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minim zohar.
Amen.
You both have Yosef.
Yeah. Well, my grandfather and his father. Yosef. And my son. And my uncle.
Maybe Yosef doesn't just come from Zev's side. It also comes from your side.
Well, in my head, he was after my grandfather.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can make a
And
compromise.
his head is after his father.
He got Yosef after his father, and he lost Leib because of your grandfather. He was a compromise.
No loss.
Oh, Hashem. It's very good. Thank you. Okay, let's review this paragraph at the bottom of 217. Not the top part. The bottom part, which is Umin HaTorah.
Yeah.
Umin HaTorah. According to the Torah, it's very important in every halakha to know what is prohibited from the Chachamim, what is prohibited from the Torah, and to know the difference between those two. According to the Chachamim, it's prohibited even if it's a little bit amount and you don't want it there, or if it's a large amount and you do want it there. Correct? Umin HaTorah. According to the Torah, En chatzitza poselet binyan tvilat haguf. Regarding tevilah, not washing hands, regarding the mikveh, chatzitza is not a problem, אלא אם כן, unless היה הדבר החוצץ מכסה את רוב גופו, unless the thing which covered the majority of your body, ובנוסף על כך, and in addition to that, מקפיד עליו ורוצה להעבירו, it bothers you and you want to take it off.
This is for the mikvah?
Yes.
Same as for the hand washing.
Mikveh I'm talking about now.
So both,
Mikveh for women?
both have to be there?
You need both. Meaning that if it was the majority of your body but you didn't mind, according to Torah,
So you can be,
It's okay.
you can be filthy, and it didn't matter to you.
okay, maybe we'll have to define you don't mind, is that objective or subjective, or let's say not filthy, but let's say you're a,
Have a cast on.
yeah, even a full body cast.
You may not come up from the mikveh.
No immersing without a lifeguard. That's yeah.
You're saying you could actually be covered, the majority of your body with whatever, and if it doesn't bother you, you could go to the mikvah?
Correct.
In the Torah it says that?
That's the Torah requirement. It has to be something that's the majority of your body and that bothers you, or a minority of your body and bothers you. No, wait, hold on. Next part. But if that which is covering your body is covering the minority of your body, it is not invalidated according to the Torah when you go to the mikveh. Even if you want to get rid of this.
Wow.
Wow.
So if you have some paint on your fingernails and you want them to come off, your nail, let's say fingernails, your fingertips, because nails are a different halakha. You know nails are different halakha. Nails are not the same as your body.
Mhm.
Nail polish and a mikveh, it's not the same as having on someone's skin something.
She had dirty knuckles.
Right,
Is it
it's a
considered to
difference.
be the dead thing?
Yeah, the nails bichlal in general, even the trimming of the nail, all those are chumrot on chumrot on chumrot. We're talking about extras and extras and extras.
When I first
Somebody
started,
once told me that their wife takes them 3 hours to prepare for the mikveh. Someone
I don't have anything
and
to
I
say.
asked, they sent me
bold.
this checklist. Their teachers made them a checklist. It's like a pages. There's a checklist. You do that. You do this. You do that. I said none of these are halachot. Like after number 2 already, it was done. But people don't know. People rely on people and they don't ask for sources, and the rest is balagan. But here, according to the Torah, so according to the Torah, if there's a paint on your skin, and you want to take it off, and you don't like this, it doesn't make a difference, because it's just the minority of your body. So according to the Torah, in order for it to invalidate your tevilah, it has to be a majority, covering a majority of your body, and
You have to like it.
you have to want it off to invalidate. Yeah, according to Torah, though, if you want it off, but it's a minority, or you want it on, even if it's a majority, it's okay. That's the base of Yichot Tevilah.
but could you go to any if you were a woman, could you go to any mikveh and have anybody
No.
understand that?
In today's world,
Yeah. What about tattoos?
not until
When I first got into Judaism, someone told me that you can't immerse with a tattoo.
all the legends around the tattoos are
Yeah.
to try to prevent people from
Get it.
putting on tattoos. Like they won't bury you in a Jewish cemetery. I don't know. There are a lot of people buried in a Jewish cemetery with tattoos. I'm not saying that we should have tattoos. What I'm saying is
Yeah.
just
Of
not
course.
everything you hear about tattoos. A lot of them were good grandmothers trying to keep their children on the straight path, but it didn't always work. And what are left are just legends about certain things in the Jewish community. Tattoos, we're probably going to talk about it, because the real question is it a chatzitza or is it part of your skin? When it comes to mikvahot, and you mentioned about, there's a Chazon Ish. It's a famous teaching of the Chazon Ish. The prohibition of a man and a woman being together without going to the mikveh is a biblical prohibition of the most serious variety. It's Isur Karet. It's an unbelievably serious prohibition. You don't have to accept this from me, because I know that not everyone accepts this from me. But how a husband and a wife can be particular their whole life about these halachot. But when it comes to another lady, they're not particular about these halachot. Shaking hands, giving a hug. One would never do that to their wife in during this time, but to someone else, for the life of me, I will not understand. How can one be particular about the halachot of Tahat Mishpacha with their wife, with their husband, but not with everybody else? I don't, I'll leave it as a tzarich iyun. Someone has to explain this to me one day after 120 years. When we talk about mikvahot, nechot mikvahot, there are times where you don't always have ideal situations. An example, you live in a place where it's very difficult to get rainwater. What are people supposed to do? Not go to the mikveh? So how do you make a mikveh? Chazon Ish says there are times where you make a mikveh that is biblically valid but rabbinically invalid. To allow people to keep this mitzvah and to be with their spouse, even though it's not ideal, But in non-ideal situations, you build a mikveh that is not kosher at all according to the Chachamim, but kosher according to the Torah. An example? Mayim shuvim. You know mayim shuvim are? Non-natural water, like from the plumbing, water you get from the sink. Can you fill up a mikveh with water from a hose?
No, because it's not
you can't.
rainwater.
You can't. According to the Torah, though, what is natural water? I mean, at the end of the day, all the water that you have in the rain clouds, sometime in someone's pool, in someone's bathroom, it was once upon a time in a pipe. So what makes the difference between rain and water that comes from a pipe?
It's not supposed to touch as it goes down any kind
That's
of...
supposed to be in a pipe. It's not supposed to be in a...
Yeah.
Right, it kind of drops it. Right, so the question is, how far removed does water have to be from the pipe before it goes back to being natural water?
To evaporate and come out and rain again.
According to the Torah, not the Chachamim, if it runs on the ground, cement even, as long as it's something that's attached to the ground, it's not like a wooden pipe or something. You make a little canal from the... Imagine you set up your swimming pool like this, where in the swimming pool, they have the water goes in and out from little holes inside of the pool. Imagine if you took those out and you remove them 2 feet back from where the pool is, and instead of going directly into the pool, the water coming out of the ground, the water going into the pool, it has to run along the concrete like a little
Culvert.
channel. Not a channel that's above ground. It's built into the cement this way. The water that fills in that mikveh, according to the Torah, is a kosher mikveh 100%. According to the Chachamim, you shouldn't use this. It has a psul. It has an invalidation of mayim shuvim. There could be another problem with the mikveh. For example, some say mayim zochalim. If the filter is working while someone's in the mikveh, the water is moving. It's not resting water, so you have to turn off. It's a chumrah. Not everyone holds it. You have to turn off the water. Okay. There are times where in halacha you say we're going to build a mikveh that comes from city water. I heard from old rabbis in New York that the old Chachamei Ashkenaz, I'm talking about before World War II, in New York and many places they had many mikvot like this. They would just use pipe water. They would, but half the mikvot in Sephardic countries were like this.
Like on the 3rd floor of a 50-floor building, you can't put any kind of barrel or rainwater.
Well, that's a good question. Like, can you build a mikvah on the 3rd floor of a building? That's a fascinating question of what is considered ground.
Oh, ground.
A jacuzzi that is kind of like half above ground, half in the ground. Is that in the ground or above ground? Probably once you can't move it and it's attached into something, it's considered in the ground, even though there's parts of it that are above the ground. But there are machlokot about it. So probably in the 3rd floor, yeah, you technically could have a mikvah over it. Probably. I mean, I've never seen it before, but I'm sure there's a way to do this. But oftentimes the mikvah were like in basements of people's apartment buildings, or they were some random, in the shul, they had like a little, behind the bathroom, they had a little room. And listen, we weren't building channels now. In the 1930s, the Jews were in New York, were in no shape or able to start constructing beautiful buildings. That was a different kind of world. And so there are times where you have to know to build a mediocre mikveh to help solve a really serious problem.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Chachamim that live today are very afraid to do such things. Like, oh my gosh, we're not. So what do you rather? You rather do not going to mikveh at all? I want to say, oh, if you live in a town that doesn't have a mikveh, so you're going to wait 3 years until you can afford a plane ticket to go to another place to the mikveh. Are you out of your mind? Who's going to wait 3 years? You know, I mean, Isurei Karet, how many biblical provisions they're going to violate till then? You have to have a solution. I wonder if you would extend this to something like this, where, for whatever reason, the chatzitza is such that biblically it's okay, but rabbinically it's not. If you say, listen, if that's what's going to stop a person from going to the mikveh, Rabbi Yosef uses this logic. Nail polish. Of course, we want a person not to come with nail polish to the mikveh, but they don't want. There's a new world. People are. It's very important to them. Their nail polish. If that's what's going to keep them back from the mikveh, it's not biblically prohibited. It's a little bit of her body, and she wants it, and it's on a nail, which is bichlal. So in that case, you say, listen, okay, fine. Go to the mikveh. That's better than not going to the mikveh at all. So what Zev asks is actually more important than you think, which is the experience that we create in the mikveh is one that determines whether or not people are ever going to go to the mikveh again. And when you think you're being so particular over a rabbinic detail, the Chachamim themselves will tell you, hey, slow down. We'd rather people come to the mikveh and use it biblically than for you to start throwing everybody out of the mikveh and nobody ever comes to use the mikveh. And Hashem knows how many people don't go to the mikveh because of the discomfort they experience in the mikveh. It could be in the thousands of people. One has to be careful, to be particular about these things. ומכל מקום, so in any case, though, at the end of the day, חכמים גזרו להחמיר כשהיה הדבר חוצץ על מיעוטו ומקפיד עליו, או על רובו ואינו מקפיד עליו גזרה משום רובו מקפיד עליו. Our Chachamim were strict in both directions. So it could be a minority that bothers you, it could be a majority that doesn't bother you. But either way, you have to make sure you take it off. The reason is they're afraid that we're going to reach a place where even biblically the chatzitza is too much and we'll end up not having to use the mikveh properly at all. And that's a gzira. That's a rabbinic decree. And that was ruled 3 different times in the Talmud. In Eruvin, in Sukkah, in Nidar. The Rambam rules that way. Let's look at page 218. We didn't do this already. This is new. ואם היה הדבר החוצץ על מיעוט גופו, if the chatzitza was on the minority of your body, וגם אינו מקפיד עליו להעבירו, and it's something that doesn't bother you, לא גזרו חכמים להחמיר, the חכמים did not decree there to be strict, ואם טבל, and if one goes to the mikveh this way, עלתה לו טבילה. It works, the tefillah works. I don't have an answer to tell you now, but a question I'll give you. Maran in the laws of family purity talks everything in feminine. Comes the laws of going to the mikveh, masculine. ויש אומרים שאף על פי שלא גזרו חכמים בזה, some say that even though the חכמים did not decree that this is prohibited, when it's a minority and you don't mind, מכל מקום לכתחילה יש להחמיר להסיר דבר חוצץ אפילו היה על מיעוט גופו וגם אינו מקפיד עליו להעבירו. There are those who say that one should be strict to remove chatzitzot even if they're the minority in your body and even if they don't bother you. ויש אומרים שאפילו לכתחילה יש להקל כשדבר חוצץ על מיעוט גופו וגם אינו מקפיד עליו להעבירו. And some say that it's even the ideal. It's not just a good chumrah, it's like that's l'chatchila, you should take it off, but if not, it's okay. What's the difference between it's a good thing to be strict about, or it's the ideal opinion, but if not, it's okay? What's the difference in those two opinions? The one that says it's okay, but it's better to be strict, is really telling you that it's completely okay to go with the mikveh with a little bit that doesn't bother you. The opinion that says, though, you should get rid of a little bit that doesn't bother you, is telling you, no, really, there's an opinion there that says you should really do this. Mm-hmm. And then, if you don't, it's okay, but you really should.
I don't know what you mean by a little bit that doesn't bother you. Like if you have a scab or something?
Mm-hmm.
Let's think of an example that would be practical. Here's an example.
The scabs are
Somebody wears mascara or lipstick.
Really?
Doesn't
Lipstick?
they put it there, it doesn't bother them.
They want it there.
They want it there.
Or permanent makeup now they have.
Oh, yeah, it's like
Elchanan once, or Avina, one of my kids once took lipstick and smeared it on the table. You know how long it took me to take it off there? But, so for me, I'm like, why would someone put that on their face? But there are people that don't mind putting it on their face. So what that tells you is, it's a little bit, it's not the majority of my body. I go into the water with lipstick on. What's the big deal?
Remember that, Jack, next time.
The ramification of this is what happens if you have nail polish.
No lipstick.
Every time you want to wash your bread, you have to take off your nail polish? It would be impossible.
I can put on lipstick before I go to the mikvah.
Yeah, but those things are easy things to take off, and they're not hurtful. But like I'm saying, like let's say you have
Don't mind
a
the
scab
scab.
and you have a Band-Aid, and okay, so you take off the Band-Aid, but you still have the scab. Are you gonna really take?
Why would you take off
part
the
of your family, it's part of your body.
I've actually heard that with some.
That's a chatzit. That's
I've heard that in
Scab.
classes before that you have to
Scab.
scrape off the scabs before you can go in the mikvah.
Well, that's way too far.
Bleed?
But that is part of your
If you
Never mind the
scrape the
rest,
scabs off, you bleed.
Yeah, you
yeah, you bleed.
You're
Yeah.
actually
So,
you're
how does
injuring
that
the
make you
human
pure?
recovery
How does that make you
mechanism.
pure?
You're actually destroying
crazy.
your
Of
own
course.
body's
the
like defense
platelets.
mechanism.
Yeah,
You're actually
in the
creating a danger for your body, right? It's like
Right, because then dreams get
you're not doing
And you
something
bleed
enough.
into the
So,
mikvah.
I believe.
That's right, you see
I
all the-
believe that it was said. That's not my question.
I don't know. It's been a-
I don't
If you
know.
want to look at, I'll do a halacha in honor of Edith. Page 239.
Oh, this is for you.
what's the hell,
What page?
239.
But for you, it's 280.
הלכה ג' צריך להסיר הטבעות מעל ידו בשעת נטילת ידיים. You must take off your rings when you wash your hands.
Right.
Says the Rama, ואפילו הוא רפוי, and even if it's loose. ואפילו אינו מקפיד עליו בשעת נטילת, even if you don't care if your ring gets wet. הואיל הוא מקפיד עליו בשעה שעושה מלאכה, שלא יתנפו, because let's say a woman is making challah, she'll take off her ring so it doesn't get dirty. ונהגו קצת להקל אם הוא, because of that, and because you would take it off when you're painting, you take it off when you're dealing with the garden, so because of that, it's something you take off, you're worried about it, it's considered a chatzitza, even though it's a minority of your body. ונהגו קצת להקל אם הוא רפוי, and some are lenient when it's loose, אבל יש להחמיר כי אין אנו בקיאים איזה מקרה רפוי. It's a classic Rama. But you should be strict with the loose ring because we're not sure what the definition of the word loose means. It's a classic Rama. We don't know what soft matzah is, so we don't make it. We don't know which backside of the animal is, we don't eat it. Many halachot, the Rama writes like this.
So
It shouldn't surprise you, but I will post an article if you remind me. An article on how the Talmudic commentaries developed in Ashkenaz that were not a direct tradition from the Talmud that was written in Babylon. The Baletas of France and German Jewry were disconnected entirely from the Talmudic base of Babylonia, and that's how many of these halachot were lost, and many of the halachot were not understood correctly because of this distance that existed between.
Things like with the bedside, like with the size of eggs and zaytin.
Yeah, that's like a later example of that, but it's definitely part of the same snowball that happens here.
What if you can't get your ring off, like your finger swells? That happens to me sometimes, and I can't get my ring off to
You have
wash
to go
over
visit
it.
Zev Rosenberg. That's medical attention. He is Zev Rosenberg. What do we do? I don't know. Who do you go to, Zev? This is
No, but not to get my finger not to swell, but what do you do when it's swollen when you wash your hands?
Okay, so on page 240, Uvdi Avad, if you didn't take it off,
And there's herbs
Okay,
you
well,
can
he
take that'll
says-
take you a few hours.
No, and sometimes you get in hot weather, the fingers
Yeah,
swollen.
Yeah, you have to heat up the ring.
okay, he has an interesting halakha on page 242. It says, all of this is said about a lady who would take off her ring when she makes dough and things like that. So, but if there's a man, for example, a man doesn't work with his hands, he's not making dough, he doesn't take it off, or a lady who doesn't bake, doesn't do any of these things, never takes off her ring, says they're allowed to wash their hands with their ring on. This is
You know,
a subjective halakha.
So is this a common custom to take off your ring when you wash?
It seems like it. In fact, there's a famous
Most
story on
places I've
record
been,
I've
people
never
do
seen
that.
of ladies in line taking off their rings, and one lady's like, here, put a ring in your mouth so you can wash your hands. Because that's what everyone do. They put a ring in their mouth, wash their hands. So she lent her ring to the lady behind her who didn't have one, so she could also wash her hands properly with the ring in her mouth.
Oh my gosh.
This
Oh,
is a new
you saw
minhag?
No, that's a famous joke of like
joke, oh.
like how minhagim developed.
It's like the pipes.
Yeah.
That's like
It's like
ducking,
pipe.
pipes.
Right.
Yeah, ducking.
right,
Pipes, yeah.
ducking under the.
Zev, and look for you, page 243. We're not gonna have anything left to learn in the Torah. Isha sheyesh la tabat biyada. If a lady has a ring on her finger, v'nitnapcha ha'etzba, and the finger got swollen. באופן שאי אפשר להסיר את הבת, in a way that it's impossible to take off the ring, והיא מהודקת על האצבע, and it's tight on the finger, ואף בשעת אישה אינה מסירה אותה מחמת כאב, and therefore even if she were to make dough, she wouldn't take it off because she just can't take the ring off her finger. רשאית, היא תולי לה בקשת הבת עצמה, she's therefore allowed to, because it's not something she would ever take off, because she doesn't, even if she were making dough, she wouldn't take it off. And even if the reason is because it can't come off, that's enough of a reason to be able to leave it on. But that's ironic. But that's, I mean, perhaps there's no greater person who wants their ring off than the one whose ring is stuck on their finger, but that's precisely why that ring is considered stuck on their finger and they're able to leave it on. Look at a little bit of Jewish gymnastics. See you tomorrow night.
Exactly.
Boy,